As of this writing, there are no less than 40 movies bearing the Amityville name. Most have absolutely nothing to do with the original canon and only use the Amityville name as a selling feature. But lest we forget the legacy movies of the franchise. And today, I'm going to talk about Amityville 3D. First of all, I never really liked the first Amityville movie. I've made no secret of that over the years. Rod Stagger knows exactly what I'm talking about. I liked Part 2, The Possession, though. The prequel detailing the tragic events of the Montelli family, based loosely on the DeFeos. It starred Paulie from the Rocky movies.
You want the bird? Go in the alley and eat the bird! Oh.
Who does that? This movie was a step up from its predecessor. This was a time where, if you're going to have a supernatural-themed movie, you better have a priest in there, ready to take one in the balls for the rest of the team. Thanks, Jason Miller. In my mind, the franchise ends with Part 3, and the remaining 37 movies are just hack jobs at best. It's my second favorite in the franchise, right after Part 2. Where does Part 1 place? Well, probably about 17 rungs below my Hoover Dam home movies. So the movie picks up sometime shortly after the events of Part 1. John Baxter is a reporter working for an exposure magazine. His character is loosely based on real-life investigator Stephen Kaplan, who is a vocal skeptic of the Amityville case. He and his partner Melanie, a photographer, are masquerading as a grieving couple whose son has recently died. They're greeted at the house by an elderly couple, and the woman goes into a trance while supposedly making contact with the dead child. It takes all of about 5 minutes to expose the true presence in the room, and that being a hired hand in a black suit holding a ball of light prop. I hadn't seen the movie in years, and I had to rewatch it just to get it fresh in my mind before writing this, and I realized something that I really didn't notice before. In the previous movies, the priest hears a voice from beyond telling him to get out. Then in the prequel, the Montelli boy hears voices through his Lloyd's Walkman asking why he didn't shoot that pig. Sorry, Paulie. But in this movie, we don't hear any voices. We only hear a fly buzzing around, watching through windows, appearing in cars and elevators, all before something unfortunate happens. A possessed common housefly caused all this mayhem. Forget all the priests and psychics. All we needed was one of those fly strips that everyone's grandparents used to hang on the ceiling in their kitchen when they got too old to chase them with a fly swatter. But getting back to the movie, John, an obvious skeptic of the paranormal activity in the house, purchases the place after he outs the psychic scammers and moves his shit in. Then it's off to the races. The devil fly goes on a frenzy. After swarming and killing the realtor who sells him the house, he punishes John by pushing his daughter off a boat, drowning her. He burns his coworker alive in her car. He screws around with the elevator John is in, and just to drive home the point that he wasn't fucking around, he tortures him to the brink by allowing the bitchy ex-wife, Nancy, to live. John's friend, a scientist and paranormal researcher, offers to do a full investigation of the house when John's ex-wife goes a little batshit and refuses to accept her daughter's death after she sees her in the house after the boating accident. We don't see the fly during the investigation, but after a swirling ball of light appears and lures Nancy to the basement where an old well was found earlier, it's now bubbling and steaming like a hot tub. And in an act of bravery, which I'm sure he was regretting about 2 seconds later, Elliot challenges the demon to show itself. And it does, giving Dr. Elliot West a face full of flames before pulling him into the well for what I'm sure was a not-so-pleasant trip to hell. Matthew 25:46 states, "Then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life." So here's hoping that the good doctor was saved in the biblical sense before he was dragged down to the chambers of Lucifer. John, Nancy, and the other investigators barely make it out of the house before it explodes into splinters, leaving nothing but the hot tub to hell, still bubbling and flaming in the ruins of the cellar, with its now homeless housefly buzzing about as the credits rolled. I can't believe this movie got panned by the critics and audiences. I know it's not on a level with The Exorcist, The Omen, or Rosemary's Baby when it comes to supernatural horrors, but it wasn't that bad. Sure, it was cliché with flies buzzing around, the predictability, the crappy script, the old woman moaning, the nonchalant way John saunters after hearing someone gagging. The list goes on. But you take all of that and stir 'em up, and you've got a movie that is so good that it beats Manos, The Hands of Fate, by 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's saying something. Anyway, if you haven't seen this movie, I urge you to watch it, judge for yourself, then come on back and tell me if I was crazy to think so highly of it. Till then, thank you for watching. You're all amazing, as usual, and I'll see you at the next slaughtering.